Hi, my name is Renee Rizzo. This will be a teacher-facing video which will guide you through my adaptation of a small portion of Living Environment, Unit 7, Day 16, Introduction to Cultural Evolution, which I have elected to break down into several smaller parts to accommodate the unique learning needs of students in alternate assessment settings. So, this particular lesson is Living Environment, Cultural Evolution When We Took Over the World. The focus question for this lesson, which I elected to use from the original lesson, is what is cultural evolution and what are some of the ways that culture has evolved in humans? The vocabulary that I believed was essential to understanding this particular lesson is cultural evolution, how way of life changes over time. I would suggest that you ask students to pause and think about it. How do you define culture and what do you think of when you hear that word? So, people think of different things when they hear the word culture. So, I would suggest charting student responses to this question. So you can then explain to students that for the purpose of this lesson, culture is the usual social behaviors in human societies. It includes language, beliefs, food, habits, music, art, the way families interact with each other, the way other people interact with each other, and how people make decisions individually and in groups. You can then go into depth further and ask students to give you examples of different languages, of different cultural foods, music, of different art, and different ways of interacting. So you can see what experiences students know about with regards to culture. So the YouTube video from PBS Eons that goes with this particular lesson is When We Took Over the World. So there, in the original cultural evolution lesson within the Teach Hub, there are 5 videos within that one lesson. And students are broken down into 5 groups to go over the videos in their individualized group. Um, for our approach to this lesson, I suggest that you do 5 separate lessons about cultural evolution to make it sort of a unit instead of a single lesson. And you go over each of the videos with the students so that they can all get exposure to all of these topics and then discuss as an entire class. So here are some questions that I developed based on this particular video when we took over the world. So why have humans been so successful? A, because they are rigid and inflexible. B, because they are flexible and resourceful. Or C, because they are violent and aggressive. So here you can use process of elimination, right? And you could go over how A, it's not necessarily good to be rigid and inflexible because life is always changing and we need to adapt, right? So A would not be a very good answer. And C, because they are violent and aggressive, would not be a good answer either, because violence and aggression are not behaviors that we try to encourage, right? But one of the reasons that humans have been so successful is because B, they are flexible and resourceful. They adapt to changes in their environment. Next question. Where did the story of Homo sapiens begin? A, in Africa, B, in Asia, or C, in the Americas? So the video goes in depth to talk about how Homo sapien life began A, in Africa. Next question. What populations have the greatest genetic diversity? A, African populations, B, Asian populations, or C, American populations. So the video goes into how older genetic groups have the greatest genetic diversity. And the video explicitly says that A, African populations have the greatest genetic diversity. So that is the correct answer to this particular question. Next question. Where was the earliest known evidence of modern humans outside of Africa found? A, in India, B, in Italy, or C, in Israel? So the video says C, in Israel, where the earliest known evidence of modern humans outside of Africa. Next question: what evidence of humans is quite often found? A, human hair, B, human teeth, or C, human hearts. Now, this is very repetitive within the video, and they keep finding teeth of humans in all of these different locations. So the answer is B, that human teeth last the longest, and therefore that evidence of humans is quite often found at these different sites. So the next question: how did humans get to North America from Siberia? A, they swam, B, they flew in airplanes, or C, they crossed the Bering Land Bridge. So you can definitely right away eliminate B, they flew in airplanes, because this was millions of years ago and they would not have had airplanes. So you could definitely go into that with your students. And the correct answer here is C, and they crossed the Bering Land Bridge. So, the conclusion question: what have we learned about cultural evolution in this lesson? So, out of all of the 5 lessons that I developed based on the original lesson, I would do this particular lesson last. So, you would hope that students talk about when we took over the world in this particular lesson, because that is what you focused on. However, you could also add another question: what have we learned about cultural evolution in general? And you could go back to the charts from the different lessons that you created based on student responses and go over all 5 aspects of cultural evolution within the unit that were discussed. So, just for review, this was a teacher facing video which guided you through my adaptation of a small portion of Living Environment, Unit 7, Day 16, Introduction to Cultural Evolution, which I elected to break down into several smaller parts to accommodate the unique learning needs of students on alternate assessment settings. This particular part of cultural evolution was called When We Took Over the World. Thank you for watching.